It is John Gallagher. He is the FreightWaves Washington correspondent. John, how are you doing this morning? How are things going?
I'm good, Sydney. How about all's well here in DC so far? How about you?
We are doing good over here. We're good in Chattanooga. Now we're talking about the FMCSA, and its proposal for keeping trucking speeds honest. What can you tell me that the FMCSA is proposing?
Yeah, it was this past week they announced they announced that they are intending to issue what they're calling a supplemental notice of proposed rulemaking. And basically proposing that carriers that are operating trucks in interstate commerce that are equipped with what's called an electronic control unit, an ECU, that is capable of controlling the truck speed, be required to set it at a maximum speed, which has not yet been determined yet. And maintain that setting for the life of the truck, basically. So FMCSA is proposing this rule that it's be only applicable to trucks manufactured after a certain date, and potentially that's going to be 2003, because that's what they say most of the trucks or most of the ECUs have began to be routinely installed on the trucks at 2003 and after. So that's sort of what they're thinking about. And it's called a supplemental rule because it's actually a revision of a proposed regulation that was issued in 2016. In the last months of the Obama administration, they had a comment period for that, but for the proposed rule in 2016, but there was no final rule ever issued. So the Biden administration is calling this a supplemental proposed rule because it's reviving this and altering a little bit this 2016 proposal. The other interesting thing to note here is that the 2016 proposed rule, it was actually a joint proposal by FMCSA and the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, NHTSA. And it involved rule changes. That one involved rule changes for both agency. So NHTSA rules, they set safety standards for the motor vehicle itself and are aimed at the truck manufacturers. FMCSA's rules are regulations that apply to the carriers and the owner operators that drive the truck. So in 2016, the joint rule had NHTSA requiring all new trucks to have a speed limiter device, and then FMCSA jointly was requiring that the carriers set that device at a maximum speed for the life of the truck. So this time around, instead of a joint rule applying to both the manufacturers and to the carriers, basically FMCSA is going alone here, saying that carriers and owner operators that have trucks equipped with these ECUs will have to set it to a maximum yet to be determined speed. And leave it there for the life of the truck. And FMCSA's rationale for that, for sort of going it alone here, was that by having it apply just to the motor carriers, you're going to avoid confusion on who's going to be responsible and just would increase the compliance to this proposed rule.
So, John, when we're looking at this, I heard some safety talks in there as well. Is that going to be the main thing that FMCSA is looking to get out of this? Is this going to be more of an emissions play? What's really the big, priority with instating this?
The big priority is safety. That's FMCSA's kind of main goal here, and not so much emissions. But the background on this is a little bit more background on this. ATA is the one that actually petitioned FMCSA and NHTSA back in 2006 to set a 68 mile per hour standard. It took FMCSA 5 years to grant that position, so that's 2011, and then another 5 years to issue a proposed rulemaking. So in those 10 years between 2006, when ATA actually petitioned to get this done, and 2016, ATA's policy had changed to advocating for like a nationwide speed limit of 65 miles per hour for all motor vehicles, and for trucks to be equipped with speed limiters, set at that. So when the 2016 when 2016 rulemaking came out, the ATA actually opposed it because it would only apply to new trucks, number one, and it would also, because the speed limits around the country had in those 10 years, there had been various state changes to speed limits. So then you'd have these divergences of truck speeds, which would cause the roads would be less safe, because they contend that when you have all these divergences of speed, you have more interactions between cars and trucks, and it makes the roads less safe. And so now, this past week, ATA came out with a policy that supports a maximum speed, and so it changed again. So now their policy is they're supporting a maximum speed of 70 miles per hour in trucks that are equipped with automatic emergency braking and adaptive cruise control, two things that didn't exist like 15 years ago. And in trucks that don't have those safety devices, their policy supports a maximum of 65. So the ATA is supporting this proposal now, but they want to make sure they can kind of control where it goes and get kind of out front before the policymakers kind of set up a mandate that they're not happy with.
I'm curious how you would say that this would impact the everyday driver that's on the road having to abide by these speed limits.
So are you talking about passenger cars, Sydney, or everyone?
I'm talking about the trucks that have these EVUs in them. Mm-hmm.
The trucks that have the EV, or I guess they're ECUs. Right now, they apparently, I'm not sure on the details of this, but these ECUs can do a whole bunch of things, and apparently one of them is because it controls how much gas goes into them, it affects the speed. So right now they have these, and they do these ECUs do several different types of things. But with what the FMCSA is going to propose once they put out the actual formal rulemaking, which won't be till next year, by the way. They're going to require, after getting comments on it, on what speed should it be set at, and like I said, ATA is going to be asking for 70 for certain types of trucks. So it's actually going to have to be set. They're going to have to set it. The carriers are going to have to set it. It's not. This doesn't have to do with the manufacturers at all, because again, most of these trucks, from what I understand, already have these things in them. So they're going to have to set those speeds and then keep it there for the life of the truck. So it's going to be pretty controversial for, owner operators who say that, you're limiting my truck speed. That's less flexibility. You're paying us by the mile, or by the load, or by the mile. And if you're going to limit our truck speed like that, this is going to have an economic effect for less flexibility to speed up a bit, when you need to get a delivery, and especially now with all the detention, detention at the warehouses, this is going to exacerbate the whole problem. So we're anticipating that in your question about how it's going to affect, like, your owner operator out there. OIDA, for one thing, is opposed to it, number one, and you're going to get tons of comments. Thousands of comments, I'm assuming, like they did back in 2016, from your average driver out there who's going to be opposing it, I think.
And John, real quick before we let you go, can you real briefly touch on Yellow's $700 million pandemic loan and what it might mean?
Yeah. So they came out, the oversight committee, the COVID oversight committee came out with some more evidence on this loan that's been under investigation for a year, more than a year now. And basically the new evidence that they came out was that President Trump at the time last year, in 2020, was anticipating getting union support, Teamsters support, in the run up to the 2020 election, if he pushed the Treasury Department to approve this loan, despite the fact that there were staffers at Department of Defense that were pushing back against what YRC was saying in terms of the national security reasons for this loan. So that was new evidence that came out. And it also supported the new report that came out. Also supported what they had been talking about before, that YRC didn't give enough information about how much how much they contracted with the Department of Defense to justify getting this national security loan, basically. So what happened, Anthony? The committee is now going to ask the Justice Department to look into this now that they have this more supporting evidence. So this could take a while. Because YRC's still defends that this was all in the up and up. They've had numerous discussions with DOD and the Treasury at the time, and they were assured that there was nothing nefarious about this at all. So they're even more adamant that this evidence is just, they're kind of alluding that this is a political thing. So we're going to have to see what actually comes out of this. It could be a while for the next update report on this.
John, thank you so much. It's going to be interesting to check in on that. Is there anything else you think our viewers should know, or where could they find more information from you?
Sure. My email is jgallagher@freightwaves.com, and my Twitter is @JohnAGallagher1. And feel free to send me any information that you have that's pertinent and interesting.
Awesome, John. Thanks so much. That reminds me, I got to get my Twitter back and reinstate it up and running.
Yeah.
I accidentally deleted it, so I'm going to get back to that. John, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and thank you all for tuning in. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because we have Kaylee Nix, who's going to be joining us right after this segment.